All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar, live Forex market review. Now, if you're on a YouTube live stream, I can't see the chat. You're more than welcome to join us in the webinar. Just follow the link that I put in the chat there, or you can just watch in the live stream. So before we get into it, if you can read through the disclaimer, thank you. And if you have any questions, just put them into the question and answer box or the chat box. I've got both open. And I've got a little bit of company here tonight. I've got my dog here asleep on the floor next to me, so hopefully he's going to be quiet. Might just have to put things on mute if he gets a bit rebellious, but we'll see how he goes. All right, let's move along. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at ACY Securities. And I'm a full-time trader. I've been mentoring clients for more than 10 years, trading more than 15 years. If you want to contact me, my email is on screen, duncan.cooper@acy.com. If you want to connect with me through the week at our website, you can get me at acy.com market news tab, at our YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. And you can connect with me personally as well if you want to, on Twitter and LinkedIn. As well, through the week in our Telegram channel, you can connect with me there. Just contact nathan.bray at acy.com. His email is on screen. I'll put his details in the chat in a moment. If you want to get access to my chart layouts, or have any questions about the webinars that you want to be able to talk to somebody, or access to the Telegram channel, then simply contact Nathan. He will organize everything for you as well. If you've got any account opening questions or anything like that, then he's the guy to have a chat with. Okay. He might be on a little bit of maternity leave over the next few days, but he will certainly get back to you, or somebody else will get back to you in his absence. Okay. All right. I'll just put his contact details in the chat for you. And then we'll get a look at the charts. A few more people are coming in. So I might just slow down a little bit. A few more people are coming in. So whilst I'm waiting for a few more people to come in, if you're not in the Telegram channel, then what that looks like. I'm not posting every day. I don't post Fridays. Well, I'll post a recording on Friday, but I don't create anything new on a Friday. But through the week, I'm posting videos, video analysis based around the webinar series, looking at trends, support and resistance, trading levels that I'm watching. Today I posted pound dollar and New Zealand dollar, which we can get to in the charts as well today. All right, so getting access to that, I'm posting through the day as I see something that's catching my interest. So if you want to keep in touch with me through the day before we get to the webinars, then that's the thing to do. All right, getting into, let's have a quick look at the news. So the big event at the moment coming up is the Eurozone interest rate decision at 10:15, followed by the press conference at 10:45, expecting 75 base point rise. Probably factored in more often when we get the Eurozone interest rate decision. It gets more volatile when we get the press conference. What gets said there is the bigger driving thing. All right. And then later in to Friday, we've got the Canadian non-point figures. Really that's what's coming up. Oh, we do have. So let's just review once more. So 10:15 p.m. we've got the main refinancing rate for the Eurozone. That's the interest rate figure. 10:30 US claims, unemployment claims. 10:45 Euro press conference. 11:10 we've got Fed Chair Powell speaking as well. So a couple of press conferences there, or speeches, whatever you want to call them, that could definitely drive the market, especially on the euro dollar. So just be aware of that time of the day. So let's get into the charts. I just want to click around. Yen pairs have been moving up over the last hour. So I wouldn't be looking to trade a euro cross at the moment. We'll go through the levels that have been respected. Just looking at All right, we might start talking about the New Zealand dollar. I might go to my other charts just because it's in a bit of a place where we could be getting intraday support. Let's just cover that one. So earlier in the day, I posted in our Telegram. Now, yesterday, if you go to the monthly chart, we're at critical support down here. If I just zoom it out a bit, long-term support, if I re-zoom it out, the next low is all the way down back in 1983, down at 104.63. So currently, we're coming down to test a long-term level of support, major level of support. Is this pair going to hold down here? So yesterday on the monthly chart, we got down to, I think, about 5 pips below this level. I went down to, yeah, about 4 or 5 pips below that low. The low's at 114.09. So we know the trend's down on the weekly and it's down on the daily, but yesterday we put in a nice candlestick, and call that a hammer, almost a doji. All right. So the question is this major reversal time? And I was discussing before earlier in the day on Telegram that trading above the high of yesterday already has done that. If we can trade above the high through London, that's going to be a much more confirmation of a reversal. And then looking, first target as we start to reverse would be weekly, these weekly resistance levels. First one's 117.60 and 119.33. Now, on the 4-hour chart, I was suggesting that we might be getting a head and shoulder pattern forming here. Left shoulder, inverted head, could be pulled back to the 62.79 area. All right, let me just put that 4-hour level in. 114.43. Now, we might not pull back to that area, but if we do, then there's a potential for a head and shoulder pattern to form to, help that reversal down there. Now, if we drop it down to the 15-minute chart, what I'm seeing at the moment is we're getting some support at last week's low through here. And if we just get rid of that fib, because it's just masking, we've got the central pivot point here. So we've kind of moved down to last week's low, getting support at central pivot point. So is this the intraday area where the price is going to put in its low for the day to start to want to move up? So you can make your own decision as to where you think that is where we're putting the low for the day. But big reversal back up yesterday. Are we wanting to put in a low for the day to move up and above yesterday's high? Got something coming in the chat. Cameron, did I say broke last month's low, so this may indicate it could break up? I don't think I said that. All I'm saying at the moment is that it's down at long-term monthly supports. I'll go back to the 4-hour chart. Last month's low is over here. So we have broken last month's low this month. We've broken last week's low this week, but we're getting support intraday today. We're getting support at last week's low. So we may have false broke last week's low. We've hit this major monthly low down here. All right. All right, you're just changing, you're saying broke back above it. All right, so we haven't quite broken back above last month's low yet. That is at 115.98, last month's low. But we're breaking back above last week's low. I'm getting some intraday support there. So we may be getting the support here intraday now for the low of the day to move up. All right. Obviously, it's counter trend to the overall trend what we're seeing, but we've hit major support. So are we getting the signs of a reversal down there? All right. So you need to make your own decisions if you want to go counter trend at the moment. The daily trend won't turn up until we break above this high point here at 116.09. But that's a good 100 pips away. So it all depends how much clarification you want in terms of a reversal going on there. All right. All right. First of all, after that pair, I just want to check what the New Zealand dollar is doing before we have a look at the dollar index. Posted this in Telegram today as well. So on the day chart, we're very much toying with this long-term weekly support level here that we formed. And, I've been early in the week, I was thinking this might be coming a double bottom, but we've traded below it a couple of days. We are trading below it today but is it becoming an area of support? All right, it's wanting to be above and below at the moment. So it might be forming a bit of a base here intraday. Just dipping below the central pivot point and 60.47 weekly supports. It's kind of getting support from this area here that happened yesterday through there. I'd prefer it to be above weekly support if I was going to trade, because it's below weekly support at the moment. So there's a bit of a battle going on there at the moment. Don't think it's quite shown its hand yet. It's not quite wanting to spend all its time above 60.47 at the moment. So I'm not in this at the moment, but I'm watching. I just like to see a little bit more positivity in terms of price action there. Is this level going to hold to continue up? All right. There's just that little bit of reversal going on at the moment. The euro dollar was a bit more positive yesterday. The pound dollar was a bit more positive. Just going back to that pound dollar, even though we are potentially below 115, it's still making its mind up. Does it want to start to move up intraday? Is on the day chart closing wise, we've been closing above 115 for the last 3 days. All right. So even though we've been trading below 115, we keep closing above it. So it's like we're dipping below 115. The buyers are coming in lower down to push it back above 115. So now this could take a few days to work out if it wants to get support down there, but you just have to work out when you're going to engage if you want to get long and try and trade a reversal from this major monthly support level. So at the moment, it's just entertaining that central pivot point. Now, this might not do too much till past, the Eurozone interest rate decision. So we all have to factor in what we want to do ahead of that interest rate decision from the Eurozone. And of course, we've got the Fed talking a little bit later as well. So, all right, so you got the structure idea there on the pound dollar. Is it starting to want to do a major reversal from the 114.09 level? So I just want to start with now going through the dollar index. And I don't know if anybody else, I don't look at anybody else's analysis, but I don't know if anybody else is talking about this. We're at the 79% retracement here on the monthly chart of the major range from up here. All right, so we've traded a little bit above it. We're a little bit below it at the moment. So that's how I'm getting it. So, are we going to see some selling pressure down from that level? Pound dollar's at a very significant level of support. Euro dollar seemingly maybe wants to try to hold itself above parity. Are we going to see some selling pressure on the dollar? All right. Seeing a little bit of positivity maybe on stock market. Had a nice push back up above this level here. I just want to refresh my memory. It is weekly support or resistance. We've been below it. We pushed back above it, and I'm pretty sure we'll be at some kind of fib level there on that weekly uptrend. So it's getting some support from weekly support in the 62% level. Are we going to continue up for another leg up rather than continuing down? Are we starting to get a bit of support here? If we move above 40.16, I think we're going to start to see stock markets moving up. We're going to start to see the dollar index maybe moving down, and that's going to be good for those pairs to the US dollar to move back up. Leaf Mason, could I please always zoom out? What do you mean zoom out? Like I squashed it in on the dollar index? Right. I'll try and zoom out where it's appropriate, or if it may, but when I'm doing my charts, I don't know how this looks at your end, but this looks perfect on my screen. If I zoom out too much, so for example, if I go back to my dollar index, that's to me zooming out. I only zoom out to that effect if there's something worth discussing to the left. All right, otherwise the candles are very small, but I will certainly zoom out and look to see what is left if there's something there to talk about. All right, so we might be seeing a little bit of dollar weakness maybe coming in. We'll have to wait and see. We may be seeing a little bit of stock market strength coming in. All right, so with that in mind, just to understand the position of where things are. If we do break above that top on the S&P 500, we could be moving higher. All right, before we get into the currency pairs, let's just have a look at gold. And I've posted this week. We've coming down. This is the monthly look. Here's monthly support down here, 1678. And we've touched that level on the weekly chart, or fractionally short of. Is this coming down for the second retest of that level to get support to move up? Is this a long-term base of support for me? Yesterday, we got a nice reversal candle. We've already had a day up. It's starting to show you a reversal there. So trading above yesterday's high of that reversal candle, starting to show a possible reversal there. All right. Certainly, if we start to move, it'd be nice to be able to see this move above 1727, daily resistance, and that resistance becomes support as it maybe starts to gather structure to move higher. Okay. So gold moving up, is that telltale sign that the US dollar is going to start to want to move down? All right, support's definitely coming in there at the moment. All right, let's get into the Aussie yen. Now, some of these pairs are at critical levels of resistance. They're trying to, can they move through, or they're going to hold? So a few trading days may need to surpass before we can get a clear picture, but this is the daily look. And I'm going to go to the monthly look first. So the monthly chart's in an uptrend, and we're testing the high that we formed a couple of months ago, this one just here. And there's another one to the left here at 97.28. So trend is up, but we're now having to negotiate resistance. I don't like to be buying into resistance. So if you got long down at supports, then you're just waiting to see if price can slice through resistance and continue its move up. But at the moment, you're having to contend with, I don't want to be buying into resistance. An ideal world for me would be, it does look structurally very positive at the moment. Weekly trends up there. A pullback to what was resistance at, say, 95.73 to 75 area here would be an ideal area to see some support come in. So that would mean on the day chart that we'll have to have, 1 or 2 days pullback to this area. So for me at the moment, and there's a day chart level there at 96.19. So from 96.19 down to 95.73, can we pull back? Find support for a further move up, all right? Or what might happen is that we move above this monthly resistance that, just need to change my line because it's not telling me the number on my line. I can get it to behave. There we go, 97.28. If we can move above 97.28 with some conviction, we could be looking at 97.28 to be support. So I just don't want to be trading into into resistance at the moment. So I need a level of support to trade up from. I don't want to trade into resistance. So just move down the 4-hour chart. You see today that we are getting some form of support at this lower level, the monthly top that we just moved above, and we're wedged in between. So You can see it's very choppy here at the moment. The market knows that we're at an area of resistance, trying to break through support, and all this choppy price action is buyers and sellers working out which way this is going to move in this area. So it's not at the best area. So you just need to be aware of where we're at and where would be a much happier level to be trading at if you want to be a buyer. You know, and a pullback to 95.73 would be ideal. Slavy got a big question coming in, so I'll just read it to myself. All right, so you're talking about the dollar index and you're saying, you know, are we going to get a bounce up? And the global economy is bleak and bounce up seems not really justified. Well, what you have to understand is the price of something in traders' minds gets cheap or expensive. And that in itself isn't really based on global economics, even though theoretically bleak, so you're saying that US dollar will go up. If we get overstretched, the dollar index could pull back for a month. Doesn't change the trend long term. It just means that, you know, there's a bit of short covering. You know, certainly like pairs for the pound dollar, people are going to be covering their shorts on the pound dollar, maybe covering their shorts on the euro dollar. And we might, you know, get 1 month up, 2 months up. All right, doesn't mean to say the trend's going to change. It just means that, you know, people look at what the price is and go, is that cheap or expensive? So we're definitely, as I was showing last night, using the fib tool on many pairs, that we're getting into the you know, the end of the fib tool in terms of where people take profit. So we could just see a short-term, you know, corrective move in the short term. And you're saying Aussie trade balance news today was almost half than expected. All right, yes, I mean, that could be fractionally weak for the Aussie, but we did have the RBA governor talking today saying that we're going to be having to raise interest rates even more. So that's potentially positive for the Aussie side. So it's like we're saying it was a yellow news. Yeah, if it's a yellow news, I don't really look at the yellow news, so I'll take your word for it. So I only look at the red ones, which are really important. If I have to look at all the red ones, all the brown ones, all the yellow ones, and I'm trying to make a decision as to when I'm going to trade, then I'll never trade. So I just try to focus on the red ones. But there's lots of economic news that can drive price. There's lots of economic news that traders just aren't interested in. And sometimes it can be very difficult just to decipher which information, you know, the traders are looking at. All right, so Aussie yen, just be very aware that we're at a resistance area here at the moment. Don't get caught buying into resistance. Look for a level of support. I'm going to be looking at this level because this level was held for quite a while. So now that we've moved above, there will be some people that sold there that want to buy when we pull back to clear their positions. Okay, so that would be a good level to watch. All right, let's keep moving along. Aussie dollar, it's just keeping a little bit of still a little bit of a downward motion. Yesterday, we had a very positive candle. So we got close to support. And today we're just drifting back down inside that candle. You know, we could finish back up positive by the end of the day. A little bit of support was shown yesterday on the candle. Structurally, we're, you know, lower top. Are we putting in a higher bottom? So 67.61, which is daily resistance, because we've moved below it here, the old support level, is holding the market on the 4-hour chart here. So that's the headache. If we are getting some form of support, we're getting held at resistance up here. I did notice earlier in the day that a fib drawn from down here up to the high because we had a reversal yesterday. So I'm drawing this fib in line with the positive candle yesterday. We got some support here at 79. to move up to hit resistance. So now we're at the 62 of that fib range. So it's a little bit uninspiring at the moment, the Aussie dollar. It's just getting a bit of a bid on yesterday, down at, we can see at the 6,700 level, it's getting a bid, moving back up to resistance. So, you know, if you're wanting to get long, 6,700 would probably be the level to watch. Does that hold once more? Does that offer a tight entry to get long? Other than that, you've missed your opportunity to trade down from resistance because it was here today. All right, so two levels to watch. We could just stay range bound for the rest of the week. 6,700 is offering support at the moment. 67.61 is offering resistance. All right. In my mind, I'm just cautious that we're getting to the latter end of the fib tool at the moment. So I'm not doing anything on this pair at the moment, but watching to see if we can test 66.81. Does it hold down there? I'm watching the other pairs as well. Do we start to see, you know, an upward movement on the pound dollar, euro dollar? Because that may be, and does the New Zealand dollar hold support? If the stock market on the S&P 500 goes up, this will probably follow suit because they're kind of highly correlated together. So we might see an uptick down the Aussie, but at the moment it's stuck between 67.61 and 6,700. Euro yen. I closed out my long position last night at 143.50 ahead of that top. I wasn't sure whether I was going to get there, so I didn't want to wake up and the thing be 100 pips down, so I just closed it out, but I was trying to get out at 144. So if I had just stuck to my guns, I would have got out there. But anyway, we've got a clear uptrend here, but we've got a major level of resistance that we're hitting into. And of course, we've got the interest rate decision coming out later. So this is going to be the critical level to watch over the next few days, 144.24. Do we hold here? Or do we sell off? If we sell off, is it a short-term sell-off? So two levels to watch, 144.24. What does price do around that level? Does it hold and move down? Or do we move through? On a pullback, if we get a pullback scenario, then if it's just going to be a short-lived pullback, you need to watch 142.31, this top. Now, the last interest rate decision was here. Okay. We ran down. I think we had a 50 base point rise, but then we ran down, found support at monthly support, and then we're all the way back up to this major level of resistance. So two levels to watch over the next few days is what does price start to do around 142.31 and 144.24. Theoretically, we could touch both those levels today after the news. So we'll just have to wait and see what the news brings. At the moment, if you just look intraday, got a good bid on just ahead of the central pivot point. So if we factor out the Eurozone news, buyers are coming in ahead of the central pivot point. So that's strong. We may well over time just see this move through resistance, but of course we've got the news to factor in. All right. Euro dollar, it's going to be the same story. We're just holding at the parity level at the moment. All right. It is wanting to get a bid. Any pullbacks today have been ahead of the central pivot point and ahead of 99.52, which is that weekly low here. All right, so at the moment, it's just sticking around parity, waiting for the interest rate decision. Interestingly enough, going back to my other charts where I had the range drawn in, if you were prepared to go a little bit counter and trade the range that's been forming here, there, and you use the technique I've been teaching where you're buying the base, stop at the 127 extension, well, that would have been worked out over time to starting to show a profitable trade for yourself. All right, now what it actually did down here, did sneak below support once, twice, kind of 3 times. But if you look at the pattern that was starting to form down here as it was coming underneath support, is it started to form a bit of a head and shoulder pattern. And then, of course, it's moved up. All right. So there was a range trade there. It was counter. Now, when we get the news coming out today, we may only just obviously pop back up to the top of the range. We know the longer trends are down. So depending on what the market does, we could only just come back up to 10090, you know, the 10100 level, 10118's monthly resistance. And this area here is really, if I squash this in, it's where the base of the last range was. And, you know, very interesting. See how we created this little head and shoulder scenario here? It's the exact same scenario here. All right, so it's price action repeating itself. So the top of this range is kind of at the base of where support was in the previous month. So we could just pop up to this area, hold and move down. So that would be a level I'll be watching later on or over the next 24 hours. All right, but you know, ultimately over the next week, I think the level to watch would be parity. Do we want to start to deal and hold above parity for the longer term? Is that going to start to tell us a story that price wants to move up? But in the short term today, look at the top of the range. Does price spike up, falter at the top of the range to maybe move back down to the bottom of the range? Okay, or this might spike down to the bottom of the range, hold, and then want to turn back up. All right, because these are the boundaries that price has been holding to over the last week. All right, it's approximately the 99 level up to the 101 level, so a 200 pip range there. All right. Pound yen, weekly support. I discussed this earlier in the week, put a video out on it, that if it broke above this high here, it could well head up to weekly resistance where it's moved to. So now is it going to be fading up there to move down? Or is it going to move through? So it's not in the best place at the moment, is it, for a trader? Let me go to my other charts. In a perfect world, if we think we're going to be going longer and move through to test the much higher, the pound yen, the much higher boundaries of monthly resistance is 168.01, and then these highs up here, then what you'd like to see is a bit of a pullback. So I go on the 4-hour chart, there's a bottom there. So, you know, if we could get like a 62 or a 79% pullback, we've all had a 62, but get a pullback. Does it coincide with a central pivot point? At the moment today, central pivot point looks a bit more like resistance than offering support, but not seeing anything that I like at the moment there. But what I would like to see is some form of pullback where we could get support to come in for then an opportunity to have another go at 166.33 to move higher. All right, so there's always the chance that we are failing here. We want to move lower. So I'm just trying to go with the overall directional bias where the monthly chart trend here is a higher bottom, higher top. We're potentially putting in another bottom here. I know there's a few lines in the way, but there's another bottom forming here, another higher bottom on the monthly. So I would primarily look to very strong weekly candle this week. You know, we might just hang around up there this week, and then we're looking to next week. So what you could look for is that's the low of this week. Potentially that could be the high of the week. So what we might find is that, see here, the 62 level. So let's class that as the weekly range, unless something changes. 62% of the weekly candle lines up with broken daily resistance here, 162.68. So that area just there would be a good level if we pull back. 162.68.3. That keeps you in line with the overall trend, buying a dip in the trend. All right. I know that's a long way away, but that keeps you lined up with the trend. Now, of course, what you could watch for here on the 4-hour chart is, do we come up, you know, over the next 24 hours? If you want to trade There's a long way to go to pull back to that area. Price could well pull back, then come up for a retest. Get my right tool. Come up for a retest. Could come and test the area, or it could just fall short. Could give you a 79% retracement here, for then to trade down the range in the short term. And then you could watch this area down here at 162.68 with a 62 fib at 162.82. You know, next week, you know, pulling back inside the weekly candle, find the low of next week to get long to move up for next week. Okay. So I said there's a higher probability we're going to see a bit of selling pressure down from that area. How can you get in? Well, it'd be great if it gave you a 79% level to trade down from, but I don't know if it will or not. And, you know, it may not pull down to there, but you can monitor all that, see what things transpire. Just want to see what the pound's doing. All right, still holding. Just want to put my fib in for across that whole range so I can monitor it. All right, New Zealand yen, like the Aussie yen, like the Euro yen, it's at a top of resistance there, 87.33. Now, of course, over the next week, with all these yen pairs at resistance, we could get a reverse, you know, a clear reversal down from resistance. Rupay, I didn't see your question come in before. You say, what would it make sense to draw a fib on that Aussie yen move up to inform us if the previous day top to the left would be good support? Let me just go back to that one before we do the New Zealand. Drawing a fib, just across this range here. Yep. So I was just looking at pure support, but yeah, the support level lines up with the 62. Plus as well, that 62 is almost the 62% retracement of the current weekly range as well. So, you know, over the next 2, 3, 4 trading days, if we do pull back, 62 level there overlaps with those highs. You know, I would expect that price would probably bounce there. So if you get a tight entry, it bounces, you get the risk out, and then you see whether or not he wants to move back up. And you're saying the daily top on the left is not important then. This top here, well, price could stop at that top, but I'm more focused on, this is a weekly level, that's a daily level. So the daily level could hold, but as my commentary before was, we held for many tests at that level before moving above. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the strongest level of resistance that was to become the strongest level of support. So pulling back here, yes, it could hold at the daily level, but if I said to myself which would offer stronger support and I had to make a choice, I would say the weekly level would be the better level because it's an older level. It's been tested more as resistance first of all, and then it should flip to support. But yeah, the daily level could hold. The market will decide which level it wants to use. But I'd prefer, you know, personally, I'd prefer to trade at the weekly level rather than the daily. But yeah, the daily level could hold there as well. All right, let's get back to New Zealand. All right, so we're testing this top. So a lot of these yen pairs are looking pretty much very similar. Now, this New Zealand yen hasn't wanted to get above these tops for quite a while. And then suddenly one day we've taken those tops out. So I just want to go to the monthly chart to look further left. So there is a bit more space on this pair before we get to the next kind of monthly resistance level. Its next monthly level would be up here at 89,684. So in a perfect world, when we drop back to the day chart, the fact that we've taken out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weekly tops today, well, not today, but yesterday, you know, what we'd like to see is we don't spend too much time in this area and we continue up. That the ball, the buyers are clearly in control and they're just taking out all those stops, and everybody that was short wants to get long, and we get above this high real quick, because if we don't, we could sink straight back down below those lows, or back below those tops, sorry. So all these yen pairs are, are going to be a bit difficult at the moment with all these old resistance levels. Are they going to become in some form of support, or are we simply going to false break? All right, not going to be easy going on some of these pairs. So you're going to have to look at the market and pick the better pair options, because this could well, sink back down. I'd like to see this by the end of the day above that level, above that top, and it doesn't want to look back. All right, but we'll have to wait and see. So you're gonna have to pick your pair. On these yen pairs at the moment, I'm sitting on my hands because I don't want to trade into resistance. Out of the ones that I'm looking at, I do like, as we were just discussing before, I do like the Aussie yen on a pullback to 95.73. I just think that there's a nice area that you can get in and trade back up to resistance. I don't like this New Zealand yen. There's lots of tops here to negotiate. All right, New Zealand dollar. I covered that. I've already covered this one. Still, it's not doing much. It's just trying to hold to these intraday tops of yesterday. But it really needs to show some positivity above that 60.47 level if we're going to think about getting long. At the moment, you could say intraday at the moment is starting to use 60.47 as resistance. So, it might, critical level to watch over the next week is that 60.47. How is the market playing around it? Is it acting as support or resistance? Intraday at the moment, look, it's looking a bit more like resistance. It's been support during the day. It's maybe flipping back to resistance at the moment. Dollar Canadian. Now, this one, there is the potential up here for a big double top. Got job figures coming out tomorrow. And there's a smaller double top forming up here. Big rejection yesterday after the interest rates. There's a 79% level there. All right. The only hurdle in the way is this resistance that was, is it now support, for a move down? Are we seeing a failure here for a long-term move down? All right. What I'm seeing at the moment intraday is that we're just not quite getting to the central pivot point. Is that where we're putting the high in for the day to move down? In a perfect world for me, if I wanted to engage after yesterday's big rejection, what I'd like to be able to do is trade at a 79% retracement of that candle. That would get you a short very high up here. So if I just go to my 15-minute chart, there's the high yesterday. Just run it down to the current low. Then that 79 level, which is really the 79% level of yesterday's candle. I'll move back to the day chart here. All I'm really doing is driving a fib from the high of yesterday down to the current low. If you can get a sell up at the 79 level, stop above the high, you're limiting your risk for great potential risk reward to the downside. Not to say that if you just clicked in, if you clicked in now, put your stop above the high here, you still have great risk reward. If we've got a major double top here, trade down to the 200% price projection. Great risk reward. So I would be monitoring that level, 79% level up here. Coincides with today's projected high. If we were to get up there, price would be very stretched. That's 131.86, but of course, price might not get there. It is looking like it's failing a little bit at the central pivot point. But we got news to come out. So what looks like a little bit like it's putting in the intraday high today, that may well not be the high of the day. We could be, see a pop much higher. So for me, I would be often when I'm looking at a level or looking to trade a pair, I'm trying to get in at the highest level if it's a short to give me the best risk to reward in the short term, plus in the long term. So obviously getting in at the 79 here, even if you just wanted to target down, let me go to the 4 hour chart, even if you just wanted to target down to the 127 extension, which lines up with weekly support at the moment, that gives you a risk reward of about 4.7 from there to there. And then if that breaks, you're going to end up with a massive risk reward if you want to target down to, you know, the double top price projection down here from this possible double top from here to here. So often I'm setting my trades up for the best risk reward. Sometimes I get clipped in, sometimes I don't. If I don't get clipped in, that's fine. I can try to restructure something another day. But trying to maximize your risk reward is key, because the market's always in control and you're going to have wins, you're going to have losses. And when you win, you want to try and maximize your reward. When you're wrong, you should have calculated your risk, and that's just going to be a loss for that trade and you move on. All right. So there's a possible opportunity there for sure to the downside. So there's just a bit of a sniff at the moment of a little bit of US dollar weakness. You can see it there on the dollar Canadian. All right, let's just have a look at the dollar yen. This is keeping on powering on at the moment. All right, there's the squashed in view. We're moving above these monthly tops to the left back in 1990. And the more prominent top from round about approximately July 1998. When was it? August, I think it was, 1998. You can find it on the charts. It's up there at 147.68. Can we meet that level? There's been a little bit of a conversation in the market at the moment about things that are improving a little bit on the Japanese economy and whether or not they might want to raise interest rates just fractionally over the next few months at some point. What that might do is see a little bit of short covering on the yen side, if that was to occur. Is that going to significantly change the trend? Probably not, but we may well have some form of pullback, and we're certainly heading towards a very significant high point up there. So that could be the time in the year where if we do challenge 147.68, we might see a little bit of a corrective measure, people covering their shorts, a fractional change in the fundamental landscape as well. So there we go. My dog's just wanting to bark. The car just arrived outside. I think. All right, just bear with me a moment. All right, apologies for that. Hopefully my dog's going to be quiet. I've just gotten somebody to take care of him. All right, so of course we're in an uptrend down the monthly, heading towards that 147.68 level. The weekly is not going to tell you anything much more. Of course, if you were with me last night, we discussed this 62% pullback on the weekly. We're getting into the higher levels of this fib structure at the moment. And any corrective measure that we might see at some point could just be another 62% retracement kind of correction before we move higher. So what I can see there with the fib tool is that this 162 extension lines up with that monthly top. So the market could well be eyeing up that level. So we've got a fib extension overlapping with that monthly level. Price could well be moving to there. But, you know, for me to get into that move, I would want to get in at the lower area here, taking profits up here. We are getting into the high area of the move. All right, day chart, you've seen that's in trends. And we've moved above 142.17 and 141.53, which are two monthly tops. So for this to continue up, we need, you know, we should hold now at the first level at 142.17, a pullback. So 142.100 should potentially offer support on a pullback if this is going to continue. We were having a little bit of an intraday sell-off today, but it was soon held. I mean, 4-hour MACD is starting to cross down, so maybe we are going to get a bit more of at least a 1 or a 2-day pullback. Just gonna have a look at my chat. Cameron, you're saying, let me just read what you said. So you're saying if yen values go up and dollar drops, does this create a consolidation on, say, dollar yen? So if the dollar goes down, we're going to see pairs to the US dollar move up, obviously. We could maybe say, okay, that might see a little bit of a pullback on the dollar yen, or we might just theoretically see on the dollar yen a bit more consolidation, because there's still a very high interest rate factor on the US side, no interest rate factor on the yen side. So we might see, if we do get a good US dollar pullback, we might not get as big a pullback on the dollar yen. It might go a little more consolidatory, but it's something to bear in mind. It all depends ultimately what's driving the US. If we get US dollar weakness, what's driving it? Is it a significant risk off event? Or beg your pardon, is it a significant risk on event if the US dollar pulls back? So we'll just have to wait and see what is the major cause. But the dollar yen might not pull back as much as we see other pairs to the US dollar move up. I guess it will, as discussions about whether or not Japan's going to raise interest rates or not, the more that gets discussed, and then the market starts to factor that in. We'll just have to wait and see if there's a very strong short covering of the yen, short squeeze or not. So we'll just have to wait and see. Sometimes the dollar yen can be very sideways while the other pairs are, aggressively moving up or moving down, because everything can't move up and down all at the same time. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's been in a major trend on the dollar yen. So, a slight pullback, period of consolidation wouldn't be unforeseen. So that 4-hour is crossing down. So we might see a pullback to these monthly levels that we've broken above in the short term. And, if that's crossing down, then those yen pairs that are challenging resistance at the moment may well, have a 1, 2, 3-day pullback as well. All right, so any pullback that I might be discussing at the moment could only be a 1 or 2-day pullback. Like I was saying on the Aussie yen, to pull back to that 95.73 area, this could just pull back to 142 area here on the dollar yen. All right, but I'm not getting too aggressive at the moment about shorting these yen pairs, because they're very bullish on the monthly charts. All right, I'm just looking for maybe a nice little healthy pullback would be great, 2 or 3 days, then see where they settle. Do they settle at a great level of support, like the Aussie yen, for example? And, Aussie yen, primarily at the moment, I think if I was looking for pairs to trade, I'd be looking at that Aussie yen pulling back to the 95.73 area. The Euro yen, don't know what this will do today with the interest rate decision, but it just pulling back to 142.31, starting to hold, and then wanting to have a go at another run at these highs, because this monthly chart looks very bullish, like exceptionally bullish. You've got major support on monthly support down here. This looks exceptionally bullish to me at the moment. So it's just getting set, waiting for a nice pullback that makes sense. All right. All right, any questions? Of course, it's a bit difficult to give some exact levels at the moment because the news is coming out for the Eurozone. And some of these yen pairs are overextended, but we can all see the yen pairs are at resistance. So, I think the important thing is, if you're trading these yen pairs, don't go buying into resistance. Try to wait for a pullback to support. Of course, sometimes price doesn't give you that pullback, but over the course of a month, if you wait for the key levels, for price to pull back to a key level and offer you support or resistance, It will happen in the month for sure. We're only on the 8th day of the month. And those in the, if you're wise, and it's not because I've been saying that maybe the US dollar is overextended. I know a hedge fund, somebody that's I've linked up with on LinkedIn, one of his messages that came out, he bought down here monthly support. All right, so these key levels, there's a key level that's been hit yesterday, monthly support down here. So if you're just sitting around waiting for these levels for price to get to them and then react, all right, big rejection yesterday. I know we haven't really shown any positive price action today yet, but waiting for a pattern to form that you like the look of, or it's starting to move up and pull back to support, however that forms over the next few days. 115, as I said to you before, on the pound dollar, we've been closing above that level for 3 days, even though we've been below it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We've been closing above it all 3 days, so that is something to consider. So we might, let's say we get a healthy day up today, then I would be looking at 11500 on any pullback to 11500 to be support potentially then to get yourself long. All right. So we'll just have to wait and see where there's opportunity, the better opportunities lie. But the pound dollar is always starting to maybe show you that we could be getting a reversal on the US dollar. Pound has had a very, very long move down. If we just do a bit more analysis on the pound, just to put things in perspective for you. What I want to show you is, this is the candle. Just want to find out where. What I'm doing here is just drawing in the area, the range of last year. That was a range for last year. So I'm just double checking to make sure I'm not lying. All right. That was the high up here. That was the low. What we had, like I talk about how to do this on the monthly candle, this is the yearly candle, is that we pull back within the yearly candle to just beyond the 50% level before obviously trading down this year. We're only in August, and we've, in terms of the range of last year, we're beyond 200% down if we just use the cat there, but we go from the high of the year currently, which is there. That would be the range down from last year's range, right? We've more than surpassed that. We've more than doubled that. We're twice the range of the year before down. All right, so to say that we're not way overstretched on the pound dollar, so we could be putting in the year low there, and the year high is all the way up here. So potentially, if we use the range for the year, so this year's high came in on a 50% retracement or fractionally above within the range of the year before. Well, if we get a similar retracement, if we retrace half of the current year that we've put in, that's at 125.76. So there's a potential for a very large retracement up here. That doesn't necessarily change the trend. It just does exactly what it did last year. Last year's range was here. You just draw it to the side. Last year's range is approximately there. We pull back to just beyond the 50. This is this year's range. Could we pull back into this zone up here? Belief in me, sometimes you apply the fib tool on the 15 minutes. Should it not be applied only on a high time frame? well, what I do is I look at I apply it on the higher time frame, tops and bottoms, but often I will look at it on the 50-minute chart, because what I want to see is, like on the dollar Canadian, for example, where I was drawing it here. All right, which I'm looking at it on the 15-minute chart because I want to see what overlaps with my pivot points, my today's projected high. But the actual range that I'm drawing across is this 4-hour move down here. All right, so whilst I'm looking at it on the 15-minute chart, I'm not really drawing it on the 15-minute chart, tops and bottoms. I just want to see what I can see on the 15-minute chart. I'm drawing it from there to there, so from yesterday's high down to the current low of today. But then what I want to see is what overlaps on my 15-minute chart. All right, so but that's not necessarily that you can't use the fib on the 15-minute chart, because I'm going to be doing a webinar shortly on the 15-minute chart using the fib. So you can use it on the 15-minute chart, but the way I'm showing you tonight using the fib, I'm not really using the price structure on the 15-minute chart to overlay the fib on. I'm using a higher time frame structure. I'm just looking at to see whether the fib overlaps with anything significant. All right. All right, Leif, thank you. All right, any final questions? So as I was just showing you there on the pound, potentially if we get some support down here, there is a potential for, quite a large correction, which doesn't necessarily change the long-term picture, because we could have another year down next year. Let's say this is a low of the year, and we have a corrective move up for the next, we're in September now, so for the next 4 months. Let's say we go up for the next 4 months. Then we have another year down, and we could break 114. But this is a very long year down compared to the year before. So Cameron is saying, so would you be more inclined to wait till that goes above than retest 115? Yeah, like I said before, my commentary this morning was it'd be great through the London session as a confirmation to see whether or not we are getting a reversal. Is through the London session where we have actually broken above yesterday's high, but we are waiting for the interest rate decision to come out from the Eurozone. Is when we broke above the high of yesterday today, that was just through Asia where it's low volume for the pound. It'd be nice to see a break of yesterday's high in London, New York, which we haven't had. So let's just go to the 50-minute chart. So it'd be great if we broke above here today in the higher volume sessions. We haven't done that. So if we could break above there today, let's say that's where we get up to today, then it'd be great if we could get like a 79% retracement back down of that range coinciding with the figure. That would be ideal, because as I said, we closed above 115 for 3 days in a row, even though we traded below it, but you can see right now we're still below it. So there's not a massive buy, there's not massive buying pressure above 115. Of course, we had quite a nice upward move here from 114. But as we get to 115, things are just subsiding at the moment. And all that's really happening here is we're just sticking at the central pivot point, which is fractionally below 115, waiting for the news. We've got the Euro interest rate decision coming out. We've got the Fed talking at just past 11 o'clock as well. So until we get past those events, traders aren't really committing. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, like you say, it would be great if we moved nicely above 115, and then the market offers, maybe we trade up to 116, but then the market offers a pullback to 115 at some point tomorrow or early next week. That would be great, and you get support there. And then hopefully we have a week up, even though having a week down this week, hopefully then we get a week up. Keep talking about the pound, but let's say this week this is this week's candle. Where let's say we do finish quite positive for the week. I'd just be simply drawing my fib tool across the week's candle and monitoring the pullback for next week. Where does the 62 level come in? And then, do we start to see support coming in at 62 or the 79 for a further week up? Well, for a week up next week. So we're having a down week this week, but is all this support down here leading to having a week up next week? And can we get a nice pullback intra inside the trading of this week to move up next week? All right, that's what I'll be looking at on the pound. Something that speaks volumes of, okay, we're having a reversal. Can we get a nice pullback intra-week to a good level of support? Yeah, ideally like 115. And then can we get long for a move up to firstly challenge 117.60 in a perfect world? But we'll just have to wait and see what comes around over the next couple of days. I'm just sitting on my hands at the moment, waiting for that good setup, monitoring those yen pairs because they are at resistance, and just seeing what's going to happen after the news events. All right, everybody. Coming up next week, we have here we go. Now, Tuesday, Forex trading analysis. We'll review where the market's moved to and have they come to some really good levels to trade from. Wednesday, I'm going to go through 15-minute fib trade entry. That's actually using the fib on the 50-minute chart, using the 15-minute chart price structure rather than the higher time frame structure. So how you can get in with limited risk, but make good risk reward and use it as maybe an option to how to trade reversals intraday from key levels. So that's on Wednesday. And then Thursday, again, like tonight, Forex market review. So that's what's coming up. So if you've got the time, just register your interest and I'll see you then. Other than that, thanks very much for turning out and turning out to the other webinars this week. Thanks very much. Hopefully you're getting good value, good information that you can apply to your trading. Hopefully you are. I know some of you are going well. So those that aren't saying anything to me, hopefully it's all going well for you too. All right, so just be aware of the Eurozone interest rate decision and the FOMC speech. Where's my news calendar? Eurozone 10:15 p.m. is going to be the rate decision. 10:45 press conference for the ECB and Fed pals talking at 11:10. So maybe come midnight, things are settling down a bit and there might be an opportunity to trade. I might hang around till 1 o'clock this morning just to see if I can jump on something, but I'm not going to trade all night. So just be aware of the news. Don't do something silly and be in something that you shouldn't be when the news comes out and then have to have a loss and then try and make it back. I'm not going to be doing anything till after the news. So if I miss out on an opportunity, I'll just miss out. There's always another trading day. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. Look forward to seeing you next time. All right. Thanks, you will. Sorry you missed Monday. Well, it's okay. Maybe you can get with us next time. All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend too.